Be it 7 p.m. April 7th, I'll call to order the Board of Selectmen Fincom joint meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I believe the intent of tonight's meeting was to listen to the school department, Dr. Malkus, and Mr. Avalos' budget for the upcoming school year. Once they give us their rendition of the budget, we can open it up to questions from the Fincom and the Board of Selectmen. And once we start regurgitating things, we'll end the meeting because I know the Fincom has a meeting right after this. So, Ted, Dr. Malkus.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I understand this is a full budget meeting, so we will be discussing the town budget, I assume, as well. School committee, has had an opportunity to present their budget, but I know that the town administrator and the Board of Selectmen have worked very hard on their budget, and I think it only appropriate that they have an opportunity as well to, speak for the support that they have for their budget too.
I'm sure she will.
Thank you.
But we're going to let you lead the way. How's that?
That sounds good.
Okay.
So just to provide a little historical context, as the Board of Selectmen and Finance Subcommittee members know, school committee is required to submit their budget prior to the last day of February. And so we are usually in the position then of preparing a needs-based budget, looking at what are the needs of the district in the absence of understanding what the revenues would look like. Since that time, we have looked at the revenues and have met several times with the acting town administrator, and recently conducted a budget workshop with the district leadership team and members of the school committee. And I presented at your places here this evening a revision of the FY17 budget priority requested items, all still linked to the three major priorities: class size reduction, technology, and safe and supportive learning environments. You will notice that there are many items that we have eliminated that were part of the original budget request, and really worked very hard to look at those investments that would give us the best return towards school improvement. So I'm referring to this particular document of budget priorities as our improvement plan, because these are, in fact, the items that would be needed above a maintenance of effort budget for us to continue to make progress towards school improvement. And they are divided out by each school, special education, and the district requests. Please note that the district requests predominantly revolve around technology. These requests are included as part of the line item budget because we have a more cost-effective means of implementing technology in the district as a lease agreement as opposed to a direct purchase. We do not have a high degree of infrastructure to help us deploy and manage the number of devices that we'd be looking for, which would be 1,200 devices. I hear church. Which would be the number of devices to fully outfit Webster Middle School and Bartlett High School. Really looking at the use of technology as part of the instructional system, not just in order to improve our opportunities for test scores, but much more importantly, it has now become a necessary skill as part of entering into the workforce. And so one of the things we're finding is that many of our adult learners who come back through our adult basic education program do not have the necessary technology skills to even fill out an online job application, let alone the necessary technology skills to participate in an online interview, which is pretty much how most employers today are screening applicants. So we have that. As well, I would like to mention, we have the possibility of developing a dual enrollment program in information technology with Quinsigamond Community College, so that students could graduate from high school with 12 college credits in information technology. And the implementation of that program is hinged upon having the number of devices needed for our students to be able to access that curriculum. That comes to a bottom line of a 8.7% increase. With our town appropriation, we would be looking for the difference, where there is no possibility of getting that difference through the local revenues. We would have to consider whether or not there was a will within the community for a Proposition 2.5 override for the amount of $747,400. It's been a long day. And in addition, there are some Q&A responses at the back of this document around some of the positions that we felt that people might have some questions. So I will give you a few moments to look that over. I'm going to pass the mic to my colleague, Mr. Avlis, so that he could discuss some of what we've been talking about on the school side, now that we have a better understanding of what the actual income is and what our liabilities are with respect to the budget.
Thank you, Dr. Malkus.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Mr. Atlas, we've had the privilege of listening to you and Dr. Malkus, and your presentations are absolutely outstanding. I'd like to hear from one of the school committee members, whether they have worked on this budget, how they've worked on the budget, what their opinions are of the budget, how they reached their opinions before your presentation again, if that's all right with the chair.
It's up to,
I do want to mention, just so that, Mr. McCara was not one of the members present for our budget workshop this past Saturday. It was Brian Chenevert, Tina Gorski-Strong, and Dave Hurton. And I do not believe Mr. Chenevert has arrived, so Mr. McCara has seen these materials, but he wasn't part of the conversations of a 3.5-hour Saturday morning budget workshop. So I will let him certainly speak to his own opinions regarding the budget, but those are the members who actually did this work that resulted in this document.
I was away.
In my case, it's up to you.
So, I travel quite a bit for business. So anyhow, the school committee's position is we look to the leadership to, in the beginning, as Dr. Malkus said, develop a needs-based budget. What do we need? Put it down on paper, justify what we quote-unquote need. And then as time goes on through the process, we look at the revenue, which isn't known for a while, and still, isn't a solid figure. Then we develop within that to see, okay, here's what we need, prioritize what we need, as Dr. Malkus did. What are our priorities? And first and foremost in the district today, it's class size. Our enrollment is up. We have in fact bought new furniture for our new school because of enrollment. Just to put it, enrollment is up. In fact, enrollment's up in all 3 schools. So that's our input from the school committee point of view. We have our public hearing Tuesday night at our regularly scheduled meeting, and encourage anyone to come. Last year we had a pretty lively crowd come, and we hope that happens again, because as you and I talked earlier, I think it's important that the parents are involved. Their input is important. They've been to our meetings already with their concerns about class size, so we recognize that. It's a valid point, and that's why it's a major part of our budget.
The chair again.
I just got a question. Dr. Malkus or Mr. McCara, you said enrollment is up. Why is that? And is that from kids that were in school choice coming back to town, to the classes?
We've had some numbers come back, yes. We've seen an improvement in our school choice out numbers. They've been reduced by more than 10%. And actually, our school choice in numbers have increased. So we are seeing some definite enrollment increases, particularly at the elementary school, where our enrollment has exceeded all expectations. And Mr. McCara is right, we outfitted our brand-new school. It's been open a year. We've already had to go out and buy more desks and chairs to fit these kids in our building. So enrollment is up there. Enrollment will naturally go up at the high school because we are graduating one of our smaller classes this year. It's in the 80s, but the other classes in that school are up over 100. So next year, we anticipate Bartlett alone will see an increase of over 50 students in the 9 through 12 grades, and the middle school is right around the 600 mark right now, which is an increase for that facility as well. So, you know, one of the reasons we saw an increase in our foundation budget in Chapter 78 was the fact that our enrollment, as opposed to many other districts in central Massachusetts and throughout the state, is up. Theirs is down. Enrollment is down statewide for most of our school districts. You know, we have been seeing just the reverse with not large increases, but modest increases. And
Then you're going in the right direction.
we'd like to think that, we have proven to the community that, this school system can support some of the best education in the area. And we're very proud. If you look at our seniors, they're going to the finest colleges and universities of any other public institution in the state of Massachusetts. So I think that without doubt, our students have the ability to compete. We have tremendously increased. Anybody who's listened to the school committee meetings knows what's going on in the high school with the increase of our advanced placement courses, with the implementation now of this Nichols Honor Academy, where we've partnered with Nichols College to set aside programming for students in our high school for that. There are tremendous opportunities. But with that, again, comes the need for resources as well. And the idea is we are looking to improve. Our budget, as implemented, as presented, the town administrator, very graciously, we have met many times, and she's always very sensitive to our needs, and asked, what do we need for a maintenance of effort budget? What do we need that will maintain the current levels that we have in our school? And that's the budget that has been presented by the town administrator to the town. And we are very appreciative of that. And we can work with that number if we want to maintain. But maintaining is not getting better. If you stay the same, you're losing ground. And we don't want to lose ground. We want to gain ground. And we've had some great opportunities to do that. And we think that this is a great opportunity for our district to strike, while the iron is hot, while we're on a roll and things are improving and students are coming back to our district and our enrollment is up. Let's keep that momentum going. And we can do that by, looking at our budget and seeing where are the priorities. What are, Dr. Malkus, I think, has outlined them specifically as to classroom sizes. We need to get our classroom sizes down in the elementary school. It's starting to reach 29 and 30 students in a classroom, and it's not conducive to an elementary school classroom. We want to improve our technology. We've got a brand new elementary school with the latest of technology for every student, K through 4. We want to now add that 5 through 12 by giving every one of our students access to a device. As you know, we recently approved an article last year to put Wi-Fi in the middle school and at the high school. The town supported us with a $250,000 roughly article to borrow the money. We told them that if we got the money, we would look for E-rate grant funding, which would hopefully reimburse us. And I'm very glad to say we got $150,000 in E-rate funding, approved grant money towards that. So we basically spent about $90,000 to get $240,000 worth of technology in our schools. So we now have the capacity to have devices for every one of our students in the middle school and high school. So the next proper turn is to provide those to our students. And as Dr. Malkus has presented, we are going to need the technology, as we all know, moving forward for more than just instructional services, but as well as testing and other types of programming that our students will need for their advancement in their schooling and in their careers as well. So a lot of positive things happening, and we really want to keep that momentum going. I think you will see that in what we're presenting here tonight, and hope that we can answer any of your questions regarding those items.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Lemke.
when you prepare a budget for a school year, do they have the department heads in school help you out what the needs are?
Yes,
And how much is the school committee involved in the budget preparation? How are they involved? Because when I look at things that I got from the past 4 or 5 years since I've been on this committee, is the increase is big. You get your pay raises for your faculty, the administration. I don't think that the workforce out there don't get the raises that the Webster School Committee has given the faculty and the administration the raises. You're looking at 19% in the last 4 years, maybe 20% in the last 4 years. That is a big raise.
And I don't want to misrepresent this to the public because I want to be clear on this. The raise that was agreed to, but from every one of our bargaining units, was a cost of living increase. We are a very large employer in the community. We have a lot of staff, and our staff salaries represent the largest portion of our budget overall. We have worked very hard to preserve the instructional core. And so we are a large employer. The bargaining units have agreed to a cost of living increase as part of their contractual agreements. And for the administrative salaries, those are performance-based increases. So their increases are specifically linked to their performance using the educator evaluation model for the principal and for district level administration. So while it's a significant portion of the budget, it's because we have a lot of staff, and that is where our investment has been. In terms of resources, I will tell you, every year our department heads do give the high school principal a budget requests. And often when it comes down to, do we buy books or do we buy resources over preserving positions in the classroom, we're always going to be in favor of preserving the position in the classroom over things, people over things. That has been the work that we have done in collaboration with, in shared co-governance with the school committee. The school committee has the ultimate authority with respect to the school department budget. And so they are always kept into it as part of that informative loop of the budget development. Mike, do you want to add to that?
We have ultimate approval of the budget.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, Mr. Finnell.
we respect your opinion, but you gave us a presentation a few weeks back in which you said this is the lowest graduating class. We found out there was 124, 128, or 28% dropout. We've waited for an answer as
No,
to,
that's not our dropout rate.
for this one class.
No, it's not our dropout rate. That's not our dropout rate.
That's a big talk.
All right, our dropout rate is 6.5, all right, not 20-something, okay?
We
That-
started, I believe you said the junior, the sophomore class, or the started with 126 students, and we're down to 84.
That doesn't mean they've all dropped out.
Well, we asked you, or we asked Mr.
I'm
Alves to give us
going
a
to hand
breakdown on
the mic
that
over to
one.
Mr. Avalos because he has exactly that data, because that also includes transfer to other schools.
That's what we were looking for.
That includes transfer out of
yeah.
state. He does have that information. I'll give him a moment to look for that.
And Mr.
But
Chairman-
our annual dropout rate from the state for the current year is 6.5.
And, Mr. Chairman, before we entertain a Prop 2.5 override, I want to inform the board that if we're going to look at need-based budgets, the police chief is sitting back there. I had the privilege of speaking with a couple of patrolmen this week, and their workload is extremely heavy, and they're not complaining about their workload as much as the fact that they need no less than 3 new patrolmen out there to help bring this town back to where it was a few years ago. And if we keep taking from our town side and giving it to the school cannot justify all the raises that we've given them in the past 10 years. The educational system has not improved as much as the salaries have improved in the past 10 years. We have done more with less on the town side than the school has done on the school side. It's a fact. That's a fact of life. I'm not going to shoot the superintendent down, nor am I going to shoot Mr. Avalos down. But it's got to stop. You can't throw money at a problem. You have to solve the problem.
Right, and I agree. The bottom line, however, is if the board, school board does vote to request the 2.5 override, it's going to be up to the citizens
No, that's
on
your
whether or not
decision.
they're
That's why I
going to
say
do it.
I
So-
respectfully request that you really
And
consider.
when Pam starts going, Ms. Ledoux goes over her budget, that's when we can address the police department and throw out those questions.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I absolutely agree with Mr. Fenimore that our police department probably is undermanned.
Right.
I agree with that. I don't think that what I'm presenting here says that I don't want anything less for my colleagues and my community partners in the other agencies. If you will please note that many of the positions that are in this request say restoration. These are positions that have been lost over the last 4 years. So the 2 FTEs at Park Ave for teaching positions, the teaching positions, the 1.8 FTEs at Bartlett High School, those are teaching positions that have been lost, and we are asking that they be restored so that we don't go backwards. We want to keep moving forward. We don't want to go backwards. We don't want kids sitting in study halls for the predominance of their day. We want them in classrooms with teachers where they're learning.
And I believe you as the superintendent and Mr. Avalos as the business manager, if you didn't give us the amounts that you actually needed to move forward, you'd be doing the kids an injustice. It's up to the people whether or not they're gonna wanna flip that bill.
Through the chair.
Yeah, Mr.
I'd just like to mention, you mentioned you're in a restoration process from 4 years ago. But I've done a little spreadsheet to separate the salary costs from the non-salary costs for both the school and the town, and combined for the community. When I look at those figures, I see for the total budget, over the 4-year period, to sustain and try to restore a 17.5% increase for combined salary and non-salary for the school. So and yes, the salary is a large portion of that, but it's still 17.5%. I don't know in what community and what growth that can be sustained just to maintain. I think we're on the verge of looking for new ways to do things. I don't see how that can be sustained. Ditto for the town side, and when you look at the tax rate, it's going up equally as much over that time, just about, because revenues haven't really done a whole lot otherwise. I don't know a community that can support that growth and sustain it, and yet want to increase it to an improvement level. It's just nothing that I think Webster can support.
So I do want to just point out, again, Webster Public Schools has over 200 employees.
I understand.
And so when our contractual bargaining agreements agree to a cost of living increase, 1.5%, it's not a whole lot of money for that one individual person. It becomes a large part of the budget because of the volume of employees.
Right.
Many of whom are also citizens.
I'm talking combined.
So it's part of the economic infrastructure of this community as well.
Right, but that was salary and non-salary, not just salary, that growth figure that I presented. That's combined salary and non-salary for the school over that 4-year period, the 17.5%.
And where there were times that our enrollment was decreasing, we made the adjustments that were necessary.
Right, over time, yes, but I'm just saying, look
Our
at that.
enrollment has increased.
But we're talking 17.5%, we're not talking 10 students. What's your increase in students this year from last year?
It,
19?
total, it was almost 100, correct? From how they.
1,900 students in
Our total enrollment,
16?
1,900?
Yes, we're up over 2,000. Is that what you're asking, what our total enrollment is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up over 2,000. 2004 from 1990, we were at 14 students this past year. That's correct.
Yeah. And that represents what percent? I know your class sizes are tight. I'm not debating that, but I'm just saying as a community, well, I'm just saying that I'm asking how can Webster support to sustain a 17.5% increase
Over how many years?
over 4 years, from 2014 to 2017?
Well, I can tell you that statewide, that is the issue that everybody is grappling with right now.
Right, but Webster is not equal across the state communities. I'm just saying, looking at Webster, I'm just looking at Webster, I'm not looking at...
Webster is getting its fair share of Chapter 78, just like every other community. It's not enough, as we all know, and that's why, we are having conversations.
But I
right
ask
now.
everyone here, as a community, looking at how our individual lives have gone over the past 4 years, have we seen that kind of growth?
No.
I would venture to say that there are residents of this community that
Oh,
have seen that.
I'm sure, but
But
those aren't the residents that put us in our designation of a
Of what?
of a poor,
What are you saying?
a poorer community. There are salaries across, yeah, but I'm saying is a broad scope.
So what you're
when you
saying
look
is
at-
Webster does not necessarily
What-
need to fund their students. Their students
No,
should
no,
not
I'm
have the
not,
same
I'm just
opportunity.
pointing that out. I'm just pointing that
but I
out.
don't know what point you're trying to make. Mr.
I'm trying to make a point that you need to start looking at new ways. You're talking about, has everybody's salary increased 1.5% of the non-contractuals? You don't arrive at these percentage, you don't, I'm just saying.
And the maximum has been 4%.
If we want to sit here and look at
Very few
everybody's
people got
individual salary, I can assure you, that's not going to make
I
up
don't want to.
the $2.4 million increase
Yeah.
that we presented here
Yeah.
originally.
That would have brought
That's
the
not
growth
in
to
salary
23.
increases.
So you're saying if we were stuck with your original budget to do the improvements you wanted to do,
Right.
that would have been a 23% increase over this
With the
4-year
new
period.
positions that we would require.
Total,
That's correct.
23% for 2014 to now, 4 years.
With the new positions that
23%.
we were requesting.
Yes.
And the restoration of the positions that have been cut.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, please. Mr. Gabor, I guess I think you're making, and I'm gonna say our, town and school, our point, the town's point. You're saying we need to look for new ways. Do you think that we don't look for new ways daily to how to improve? I've heard over the past few weeks a lot from residents coming into the office for beach and compost stickers. And many of the people coming in are on fixed incomes. And I try to explain to them, so is the town. We are on a fixed income. We are limited by Prop 2.5. We do look for new and different ways to move ahead rather than just the maintenance of effort, if you will. If you have suggestions as to what we're not seeing, please share them. But I will tell you that that is something that we do every single day. So you're proving our point, and I'm saying our, because it is us. The only way at this point to take that limitation away from us is an override. Other than that, we've gone through them all. I know we have. I'm sure you have too. The new and different ways. The state restricts us as to what we can do. A few years ago, they I don't know how else to say, threw us a bone and allowed us to locally to adopt a meals tax. Unfortunately, we don't have any hotels here in town to adopt a local hotel tax. Those are the kind of things we need. We have nothing. There is nothing else. We try to think outside the box. There is nowhere else to look.
Can I make one
And if
suggestion?
anyone has any suggestions, we will take them.
Can I make one suggestion?
Yes, please.
It's an idea that I've had in the back of my head for a few months now. But we've got some banking institutions in town. Webster Credit Union, that the local residents have been putting money into these banks for hundreds of years. Why can't we approach them and start an endowment fund for the school? Where this money could be used for technology, where it could be used for textbooks, where it would be used for the students, not the teachers, not the salaries, but to the students. St. Louis, Mr. Becker, your father did a great job for St. Louis, started an endowment fund. Works out very well, I believe.
And many others too.
And yes, and I just don't know, why can't we approach these banking institutions and ask them?
We as the town can't do that.
Maybe,
But,
no,
I
but
mean,
maybe somebody who's got some pull with the board of directors or whoever can approach these individuals and say, why don't you take a look at this?
well, and Mr. Dixon, that might be a good conversation to have with, friends or acquaintances that you have, but I'm saying from our end, from government's end, from education's end, we're limited. Our hands are tied.
I understand.
And just my point to Mr. Gabor's comments was just that, we do daily try and think outside the box and how can we move forward with our limitations too. So that's my point.
And another thing, I know Mr. Atlas, you're very proud of not having a fee for anything in the school department. It might be something that we have to look at. I mean, you shake your head. I mean, Shepherd Hill does it. There's plenty of other schools that do it. I mean, it's probably something we have to do.
Just my opinion, I would never vote for fees. The demographics of this town are the issue. We have, everyone knows, we have a high, low-income population. We are the public school. We are not selective at all on who we take in. We take in everyone. We're not, a private parochial school who is selective. We're not Bay Path, who is selective to a large degree. We take in everyone, and they happen to be a lot of low-income kids. if we start to charge fees for sports, for busing, for parking, for music, for all those things that other towns do, we're going to eliminate a lot of kids who need these activities. Those are the economics that we're dealing with in Webster. So, you know, if we didn't have that kind of population, I would agree with you. I mean, if everyone else does it and people can afford it, that's fine. But I think once we do something like that, we're going to eliminate a lot of our kids from those activities. And so there hasn't been a sentiment on the school committee since I've been on. I've been on 16 years now to do that. It's been suggested before. It'll be suggested again. You know, I don't think there's a sentiment there for a vote to pass it. And again, it's because of the students. So once you do that, you're going to eliminate a lot of students and from activities. And, you know, if kids don't have activities to be involved in, I'm looking at Chief Bent. We kind of know what's going to happen.
Through the chair.
Mr.
So,
Sargent.
if I could, just before, I get the feeling that every year, the school committee comes before us, and they say what they need, and people start to argue that they're not spending the money correctly, or they don't need it, or so on and so forth. I think at this point, we should look back to history where we were last year, and we said, okay, we had these increases that needed to happen, and we were looking at an override. And what happened? The override went to the ballot box, and it got absolutely blown out of the water. Let's work backwards. So let's look at if we have the worst case scenario, say we do an override on the ballot again this year and it gets blown out of the water, can we survive with essentially a level funded budget? Where does that put us? Because the reality of it is, I think if we were to go down that same road again, we would probably get the same result.
It's an 8.7% increase.
It's not a level funded budget.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying,
With the maintenance of effort budget that has been proposed through the town appropriation, that we would have a maintenance of effort. What we have now is what we would have as resources moving forward. I think some of the things that may be of a difference for consideration. I think that people were very confused throughout the budget process last year. Part of that was we ended up with 9 different drafts of the budget. We weren't clear on exactly what we were proposing and exactly what the dollar amount was going to give the citizens of Webster. I think we've done that work here. We're saying exactly what it will do. It will reduce class size. It'll put a device in the hands of every student in grades 5 through 12. It will provide a middle school athletics program and extracurricular activities, which were cut from the budget last year. And our parents are very concerned about these things. These are things our parents want to see in their schools for their students. I think there was a lot of confusion around the budget last year. I don't think it was clear. I think we've done the work to be very clear. This is what, if we do not have the override, these things are not possible. What you see here in this document does not happen. What we have now is maintained. And I will tell you that if you continue to maintain, it becomes a harder and harder lift because our improvement target goals from the state do not maintain. They keep getting higher and higher with each year.
sure. So I guess also to clarify your point, I recall back last year, you also were doing the grade reconfiguration with the schools, which I think probably also overcomplicated a lot of it because there were so many unknowns with that change that was happening. So now that that has basically been established for a while now, you now have better metrics going forward.
Absolutely.
That you can actually say, well, here is exactly what we're looking at to fund this building or this classroom, and finally have a more divisive way to show how those funds are spent.
Correct.
Okay, so I just kind of wanted to get that out in the open so that we're not going to go bickering back and forth about cost of living increases and all this other stuff, which yes, is important to have on the record, and I understand that, but you know, the bigger picture of things is, you know, if, you know, obviously we all want to see our kids succeed. I don't doubt that. We all want the best, but this way we know how we're going to go into an override if that's the direction we decide to go, so that we don't have a failure again. So I appreciate you clarifying that. Thank you.
Through the chair, second.
Yeah.
Most of us have been in this town you guys all your life, me 40 years, Mr. Atlas, Mike, a long time. We've always had a budget crisis, always had a budget crisis. We'd get on the floor, we'd scream, jump up and down and holler, and we'd talk 2.5. We would finally put one on the ballot, and it failed. The town hasn't failed. And until the town fails, we're not going to get anywhere. Because people look at us and they laugh at us. They say, look at these guys. They're up there, they're talking this, they're getting an 8.7% increase, and they still want more. And they'll come in, and the budget will pass in May, and things will go back to what it was, and we'll go back to the same argument in November, and we'll go back to the same argument next May. Until and unless this town fails completely, I don't believe you're going to see a change. And I don't think this town will ever fail completely. Mr. Atlas was going to give us some numbers on the dropout rate. Did anybody here watch 60 Minutes about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, on St. Benedict out of Newark, New Jersey? A 98% graduation rate in an inner city school. And the kids that did not go to school, they sent the other children out to drag them to school. And if the child did not have a place to live, they put him up in the school. I'll agree with Mr. McCara, it was a parochial school, but this is outside the box. This is totally outside. A 98% graduation rate out of the high school and an 84% graduation rate out of college for those students. I'd love to meet those students and have them come here to work in our school district and let us know what we're doing. I did ask Dr. McCara yesterday, I believe it was, are we too close to the situation? Do we need outside eyes? Are we living too close to it?
Well, before we could, if I could maybe make a few points. I'm concerned when we say we're gonna fail as a town first, because we're failing the children. That's the future. What I'm hearing from the school is this is gonna make the lives of the children better. So I would hate to see us go to a point where we have to have the town fail first, because the children have then failed before that. The override last year was confusing. We all agree with that. And if, in fact, the powers to be, all of us in this room decide to do an override, I think we'll do a better job of explaining it, if that happens. To Mr. Gabor's point, 17.5% sounds like a lot over 4 years. It does. But we have a math problem. It's not calculus. It's simple math. That 17.5% is just a little over 4% per year increase. Compound that, you get 17.5. Prop 2.5 is 2.5, and you get a little bit for growth. Well, you can figure the math out, right? So you got about a 17.5% increase on one side, and that 2.5 is maybe worth 11% for 4 years. So you have a math problem. If we want to make things better, then you have to deal with these, and the experts are in the room now that are telling us these are the things that make our children's lives better. And that's a decision the town has to face. Right now, there's a 4.6% increase. That's the budget as it stands in front of us. 4.7% is to increase the school. 4.6% is the increase in the town, the general fund. Can everybody live on that? Yeah, I guess we can. Are we going to better our kids' lives? No. I think we're hearing that plain and simple right now. And it comes down to, does the town want to do that? So if, in fact, we do decide to go for an override, the town is going to decide, like the town decided on a new school, or a new police station, or a new library. And there are some people that are on a fixed budget, and I've heard from them too. They can't afford that. But then can we not afford, to take care of our children? So I just want to put that all out there. I've listened patiently, and there's no good answer, unfortunately. It just means we need more money. Yes.
I do want to clarify a few things that, first off, our dropout rate is identified by the state for the current year is 6.5%. Attrition of students over high school, in part, but we have a close to 20% transience rate. That is a churn rate. The number of students who start with us by October 1st, when we take a census, and by March 1st, when we take our second census, almost 20% of those students aren't the same students. Our enrollment remains stable, but the students in the seats aren't the same students. Now, we know what it looks like when a town fails their schools. We have a neighboring district that we play football against on Thanksgiving that has dealt with that. And they have gone into receivership. And years ago, when the Department of Ed first came out with the accountability system, people said, oh, they're gonna do the cities. They're gonna go after the cities, that the urban populations, they're never gonna touch the small towns. Well, guess what? Small towns are in level 4, small towns are in level 5. We are in level 3, and remaining in level 3, which is a heavy lift, because as I said, our improvement targets keep increasing every year. The targets go up. It's not about once you reach the goal, yay. No, every year the target gets a little bit higher, and we have to keep trying to close those achievement gaps to get there. I'm very proud of the fact that we were not a district identified for level 4 status. We certainly are nowhere near being considered for level 5 status. With the grade reconfiguration and the work that has been done at our high school, particularly around our freshman strong team and our dropout prevention work, we stand on the precipice of jumping over out of level 3. We went from a 6th percentile high school to a 14th percentile high school in 3 years. That's unprecedented. We are not failing our students. We're hanging on. We're doing the best we can. And we have some great people who work in this district who do an amazing job. So while we have that level 3 accountability status, that puts us in a difficult position, but it certainly hasn't taken us out. And I'm not going to allow that to happen, neither will any of the administrative team that works with me. We feel very strongly and very passionately about the work that has been accomplished here. And so I really have to say, I do take offense when people say nothing has changed, because I see a lot of change. I see students going off to Mass Maritime Academy, and I see students getting accepted into some private 4-year colleges that were a dream 4 years ago, and now they're getting in easily. We're doing the good work, but we are hanging on.
Mr. Avalos, just for the heck of it, what's the impact on a 2.5 at 750 on a $200,000 home?
You're gonna have to ask
You
the
don't.
expert.
The expert
Yeah.
would ask his brother.
No
You
idea.
don't have the answer.
I don't think it's very high.
I don't have the number.
I don't.
I can remember 700,000 being $100. Does that sound right? Remember we looked at that a couple of years ago?
We looked at it last year.
Every $100 increase in the average family tax bill was worth
30 or 40 a quarter.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we should probably not guess, because
Yeah.
I'd hate to get a guess
Yeah.
number.
Get the
in
wrong
paper.
info
No.
off
Let's
the-
get the right number.
We're
It's-
certainly going to have to meet again
And
and clarify all of that.
And
There's
it
no
may
doubt
very
about
well
it.
be that the 750 is something that the town we don't think would accept. And maybe it means you have to prioritize your priorities and live with 500 if that's the number, or 400, so 750 might not be the right number. I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there, that it doesn't have to be 750. I know that's the desired amount in here.
Well, the school department is proposing that, and, we're not sure if the town side is going to participate or not, so we don't know what the number is.
And I think we have to go to lessons learned from last year and be careful how we
Right.
deal with that. So I know
Yeah,
there's a
through the
question.
chair, I was gonna say that exact same thing. Is the town also in need of additional money through an override? And I feel feel like last year it failed miserably because it was a lot all at once. It was, the school needs some stuff, so, okay, let's see, what does the town need too? Throw that on there. If we had more plan of attack, and the school that needed the extra money this year, that might be a little more successful. Then maybe next year if the town has a need, you go again. But if you try to lump it all together, just add on, just for the sake of adding on, just because we're doing it, that's a tough pill to swallow.
When I think there's been success in the past for those who've wanted to vote on an override, when you have a specific item, so I agree with you.
Absolutely, very specific.
The more specific, the better.
Dollar amount to the average taxpayer. And you get the information out there, and to your point, like you said, then it's up to us to decide if that's what, if we want to spend an extra $50 a year or $100 a year for this. And this needs to be very clear to the layman, because everyone in this room has all the information at their disposal, but the average person going to the poll has one piece of paper with some bullet points at best.
Mr. Phillips, I don't remember the town adding any money to that $2 million override last year. I thought that mainly was for the school and they would turn
No.
back whatever they didn't
No.
use.
That was not.
Did we add anything to that?
No, yes, we did.
We had
How
the
much did
pyramid
we add?
override,
Yes,
so
it
we
was
had the
going to
two
be-
options.
It was going to be $1 million, I think 70-30 the first year, and then the second year 60-40 or something like that.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right.
All right, so if we're all done with the school committee, if we can move on to Pam in the town side, then we can find out if we're gonna need money on the town side. How's that?
Yeah. It's all one side, really, right? Like Jim said, we're all together here.
Right.
And I'm going to be brief. I'm just going to, I guess, open it up for questions. I produced a draft, a balanced draft budget. People have problems with the word draft. Draft, to me, means that there are numbers in the budget that are not final proposed budgets, numbers. I made that very clear. I highlighted those numbers, actually physically highlighting the numbers that were not final numbers for an actual proposed budget. So I put forth that budget on March 21st. There was an excess of $46,796, and I explained, I went through, did a presentation to the Board of Selectmen that evening. I provided it to the Finance Committee. I met with the Finance Committee 2 weeks ago and spent 2.5 wonderful hours answering questions regarding the budget. And I explained that evening that $46,000 plus dollar excess would be sufficient, or cuts would be made within the budget if any changes had to be made above that. That being, of course, as I explained, I didn't have from our insurance advisor our liability, our general liability insurance information, our workers' comp. So in this budget, this draft 2, if you will, it's dated today. What I've done is, and this is how my mind works, I'm sorry, but yellow means caution, right? Green means go. So any numbers that have changed, I've highlighted in the draft 2 column. And there are still some numbers in yellow, and those are, again, this is draft 2, because those are yet to be determined. The budget is balanced. Right now, there is, as I stated, it would be balanced, remain balanced. There is currently a $212 excess. Anyone want to go to dinner or something? I don't know. No, I'm kidding. So here's where we are. If anyone has any, again, it didn't change in any great way, shape, or form. The insurance numbers are now fixed. Health insurance, that number is still in yellow, because if I need to adjust, it'll probably be there. But as I explained, we have not had, our employees have not seen an increase in their premiums in 4 years. This year, there will be an increase in our premiums to the tune of 15%. If I pass that on to the employee, I also have to pass that on our end. That's a 15% increase in the health insurance line. Again, as Mr. Becker alluded to, 2.5 plus some new growth. If you look at our fixed costs on the town side, that's it. It's gone. That and plus some, between retirement, insurances, it's gone. Again, this, I'm going to steal the school's explanation of a maintenance of effort budget. That's what this is. It's my opinion that people get too fixated on certain individuals and their pays, okay? This is to do what we do. If people transition into different positions, they have different responsibilities, that needs to be compensated, that needs to be acknowledged. Everybody has their opinion about that. We have departments in this building particularly who are, generate revenue for us. Our inspectional services department generates revenue. We have a plan in place that we want to go forward and implement, but in order to do that, there needs to be some changes. And I know those changes are the source of some heartburn for some people, but this is what is needed in order for us to move that department forward, and the consolidation of our planning, zoning, Concom, and our inspectional services, Board of Health. There is a plan in place. We do have a way we want to go forward with that, generating more revenue for the town. Because as Mr. Gabor said, our revenues have been flat. We have our nuisance property initiative in this town that Mr. McAuliffe started with the code enforcement team. That team's been expanded. Chief Hickey's part of that team now. And so is the police department. And this is a very important initiative, and it works very well. It's a collaborative effort between all of these departments, and we're getting good things done. But again, we need seed money to do these things. The building commissioner has identified, I think, 9 properties that he wants to take down. Well, we don't have the funding for that. When I did this budget, again, and it's also in the draft 2 budget, is the FY16 adjusted budget this year, draft 1, and the difference. You will see that at the department level, they're either level funded, decreased, and there are some departments that do have increases, only a handful. And again, these are priorities for us. Our IT department, I explained that we are looking to purchase software to allow our customers, that being our residents and contractors who do business in town, to be able to go online and purchase, pay for, apply for their permits. Your animal control, your animal licenses for your dogs, purchase those right online. Don't even have to walk into town hall. Also in here is budgeted to put our property record cards online. I know that's been something that people have talked about too. The assessor wants to do that, and that's funded in here also. Again, as I said, it's my opinion that people fixate too much on individuals and their salaries. These people work very hard. Senior Center, that, again, we have an agreement with NOAA, and that our agreement, we've been in violation since we've opened, and we're supposed to provide full-time senior center to our residents and to the residents who live in that building. This budget does put us in compliance with that agreement. So if there's any specific questions, I'll answer them, but other than that, it hasn't changed very much from the first draft budget. It won't change very much to the proposed budget, the final proposed budget.
Through the chair. Mr. Ledoux presented the budget to us 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. There was no objections that I heard from the board, and I can't speak for the board, we haven't taken a vote on it. But it was well presented, and I did like the fact that Ms. Ledoux was very comfortable with it, so was the board at that time comfortable with it, and we would not go past the May town meeting with the budget this year. We could go in and come out in May and not have multiple meetings, and I thought that was very good. I find nothing wrong with the budget. I don't know what my board is gonna decide tonight, but I find nothing wrong with the budget, and we will make a decision tonight. And I would hope that, due to the fact that we are privileged with 2 town meetings, anything that is decided after tonight, Proposition 2.5 yes, Proposition 2.5 no, whatever it is, can be adjusted in October. If there is a 2.5 override and it passes before August, the school has what they want and can immediately implement it, and we can correct it at the October meeting. I would like, for once in the past 10 years, to go into the May town meeting with a balanced budget, which Ms. Ledoux broke her back to do, and come out of the May town meeting complete. I'm going to present that to my board this evening.
All right, good. Any other questions?
Yes, through the chair.
Yep, Earl.
Ms. Ledoux, the police department, personnel budget, Department 210, there's no increase in feet on the street, is there in that?
No, and actually, the police department is, from their highest level, it was 30 sworn uniformed officers, 31, chief, you're telling me 30? Right, sworn on the street, I don't consider you on the street, but 30 officers. This is 29. I was not able, and the chief did request, but I was not able in this budget to fill that one additional position.
Is there anywhere in the budget, now, does the senior center, Department 541, does that, what is the requirement with the contract with NOAA? 5 days a week?
Full-time, 5 days a week, 40
Full-time,
hours.
like 8 to 4:30, like the hours now?
Correct.
So, is there, that's a significant increase to go from 4 days a week to 5 days a week?
They're not open 4 days a week, Mr. Gabor.
I thought they were closed on Friday.
They're open 3.5 days a week.
Oh, okay. Even so, from $47,000 this year to 154?
The space also,
No, I understand, yeah.
right, the
So
space
that would
also costs us
custodian.
more money. Well, actually, as I explained, the custodian that is in here, this is half, and the other half of this 40-hour full-time union custodian is in the town hall budget. This is 20 hours here and 20 hours in the town hall budget. I'd like to maintain that individual or another individual, but for the 40-hour, because we may have some shifting in our custodial staff, but that individual to be maintained here in town hall, second shift, if you will, because I think that works very well with committees, boards, that this building is available for night meetings at no additional overtime costs.
But I guess I'm looking primarily at the first 2 positions, going from 18,340 for 3.5 days of opening.
Actually, that's not correct. Even though our senior center director, Mrs. Travis, works probably, I'm sure she works at least 40 hours a week now. She is only, the budget before, or currently, she's per diem, that's 2 days a week. That is what she's actually compensated for. You will see there's a difference from draft 1, as I explained, and as was reflected in the personnel data that is given with the budget. The senior center director, historically, when we had a full-time senior center director, was always compensated at the same level as the veteran services agent. So that's what that reflects. Mrs. Travis is back. I met with Mrs. Travis. She is interested in remaining in that position. And she is restricted by how much money she can make because she is a retiree of another municipality. So she has given me that information, and the number you see in draft 2, that is that amount.
And the second position, the program director, is that something new that the service, I mean, we've had senior programs for, much longer than
Correct.
3 years.
It actually is not. There is the senior center director and 2 staff there now. One of the staff members does do, is the program director, if you will. She is currently funded through the formula grant. And what we are looking to do is to use the formula grant to expand the services that are provided to our seniors.
Through the chair.
Do you know offhand what the previous, before they moved into the new senior center, what the previous budget is, the previous senior center? And that was 5 days a week, wasn't it?
No, 3.5.
3.5 at the old?
They didn't change their hours when they moved over here.
Okay. Thank you.
Through the chair to Ms. Ledoux, I'm sure you probably mentioned this to us last time, and I just don't remember the answer. On the first page, Town of Dudley SWEC, the difference between the 2016 adjusted to our current numbers is less 200 grand and change. Now, is that due to calls and service being different than we projected, or what
No.
exactly was that?
The presentation of the SWEC budget is going to be different this year. It's going to be presented similar to our enterprise funds. The SWEC regional dispatch will be accounted for as a special revenue fund, all alone. The reason for that is because the IMA requires that any excess that's left over in that budget remain with the regional dispatch center. Remember, the town of Webster, it's not our dispatch. It's regional. We only service the fiduciary for that center. So in order to account for it properly, in my opinion, we pull it out of the general fund, and we show our assessment the same way Dudley pays an assessment. And then it's accounted for as a special revenue fund. What this town of Dudley amount is the town of Dudley currently pays, the calculation is 20.3, 20.7. 20.7% of the budget, and the town of Webster's piece is 70.3% of the SWEC budget.
And that's based on call volume.
Call volume and in addition to population. Thank you. That's the way it's calculated. This reflects the town of Dudley's, now this is general fund revenue. This reflects the town of Dudley's 20.7% of indirect costs. Okay? Those things, health insurance, Medicare, portion of the police station's electric bill, based on the square footage that the regional dispatch takes up, those kind of things. This is their 20.7% of those indirect costs. So this is a reimbursement to the general fund, because that's where those costs are paid for and appropriated and paid for. That's their reimbursement. Down at the bottom, you'll see under reductions in revenue, this 400,000 SWEC. This is the town of Webster's portion of operating expenses only. That is going to be transferred out of the general fund into the special revenue fund.
Okay.
Okay, operating expenses only, because we're not going to reimburse ourselves for the costs, the indirect costs. Those are appropriated in the general fund.
Okay, got it.
I know it's confusing, I apologize, but it will, like I said, when I present the budget for sewer, water, and SWEC, it'll include the calculation for the indirect costs, and you will see all of that.
And it was a different presentation last year, so that's why the numbers aren't matching up.
It was, correct.
I have a question for the chair. Is there a way that, we're not supposed to get involved in personnel, but is there a way that we can take $24,519 out of the secretary for the town administrator's salary and put it up into the town administrators and make that $150,000 so that the screening committee can go forward with a halfway decent salary range for a new town administrator? And that's to the chair.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable at all commenting on that, so.
Yeah, I don't think that we're gonna want to put the TA without a secretary. I don't think Courtney's gonna be able to
That's
handle
the town
that.
administrator secretary. I'm not talking, her salary's already in there.
Right, but I don't believe that Courtney would be able to handle both positions. If you,
But
if
we don't
you
have a
if you
town
got rid of one.
administrator.
Well, we will be
I
having
may
a
be
town
losing something in the
administrator at some
interim
point.
here. You're going to ask for a new town administrator as of July 1? Or can we wait till October and make it 50% of the year? That's why I asked for 50% of the salary.
I don't feel comfortable commenting on this at all.
Gonna have to comment it on now or in May.
Well, there is an administrator's salary in there at 125. I think there's been a question, I think,
Right, and I
raised.
wanted to bring
If
that
you
up
could
to
go
one.
Should that
higher,
amount go
Take-
higher, I think the selectmen will have to deal with that.
It doesn't mean we have to use it though,
Right,
Randy.
understood. Yep, understood. But I
Yeah.
think the question is, you'll need it to, the
For
screening committee
advertising
may want it to
purposes,
advertise.
Yeah, to get in good qualified people.
I understand. More than, well, you know how much I understand.
Any other questions of the town administrator? Acting town administrator? No? Okay, that went smooth.
I just have one question. So the police asked for another position. Is there any other departments that are not getting what they requested?
All of them. Every single one.
Any critical?
I'm not being cute.
No.
I'm being honest.
If we were to prioritize those things that we're dropping off or are not addressing, what are they?
I can put them together. I did give the finance committee the requests by all of the departments, if you remember, back, beginning of March. And you can see in there what, the departments asked for and what they wanted. And you can see that that's not what they got in this budget. So, but I can put together definitely a priority list, absolutely.
Ms. Ledoux, does that also include the capital priority list as well? I mean, I'm sure that it's not just personnel and operational, there's capital needs too.
There are. And many communities do put aside money every year, included in their operating budget, to deal with capital items. And we don't.
Pam, correct me if I'm wrong. About 16 years ago, we did a survey on towns our size, with police forces our size, and I believe the recommendation was for 32 or 33 policemen, chief, for a town our size?
34, 36,
No, the true figure, come on. I believe it was 33 patrolmen were for a town our size, and we've always been below that, and never been able to come up to the 33. And they needed as desperately as Dr. Malikis needs her school staffed. And it is just as important to the police department as it is to the school department, because the children aren't going to get educated in a town we can't keep up.
If you add a teacher.
Mr. Finnemore, I completely agree with you. We also, and you say towns our size. We also have to take into consideration our demographic and the issues that our police officers face on the street every day.
Well, that's why I said they're complaining that the workload is extremely heavy, they're doing it, but they're getting exhausted.
It's not just the police department, Mr. Finnemore. It's the fire department could use some more full-time
So can the
firefighters
highway
also.
department.
The
I
highway
understand
department,
that.
exactly.
But
When I came
we
here
have to
16
address
years
one
ago.
problem at a time and get rid of that one problem.
I know, but-
And that seems to be our major problem, is the policing of our streets and the policing of our schools.
I think the only way we're gonna be able to address that is if we hire 3 or 4 guys at once and do an override to try to fund that.
Exactly. That would be
That's
part
gonna
of
be
our
the only way.
priority list.
You
Absolutely.
guys
And
talk
that's
about an
kinda what we-
override, but
That's kind of what we tried to do with the pyramid override last
There's
year.
no way that you'll be
I
able
mean, we
to
had
get
one,
that kind of money
1
out of the
million for
budget.
some things, 2 million if you want to go the full shebang, and it didn't pass. So we just need to be more organized with it.
well,
Well, and I think, organized and specific. you know,
Exactly,
and-
specific, and that's
If you
where-
want 4 policemen, then raise
Right.
$250,000.
Right,
And that's
and-
exactly what we'll get for the $250,000. If
and
you
no
want
more pyramid override.
750, you get this. If you want 500, you get this. And I agree. I personally, I was disappointed in how I wasn't able to put forth a good message. And, you know, it sank.
It was very confusing. The pyramid was very, very confusing.
So lesson learned.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just a point of information. I'm looking at your budget at the Park Avenue Elementary School. The high priorities are teacher 1, teacher 2. If you read your memo on there, the kids, you got 1 teacher in there now that is teaching 26.3 students.
That is for,
The Park Avenue,
no, that, let me clarify.
let me finish and you can give me an answer, okay? The one teacher, grade 1, will have an average class of 22.5 instead of the projected class size of 26.3. So you're hiring one teacher, extra teacher for that classroom, right? You know, I just want to, it's kind of skipping my mind. For 4 kids, you're going to pay a salary of $40, $50, $60, $70,000?
No, it's 4 kids over 6 classrooms. And what we're proposing is to restore, we used to have 7 first grade classes. So it's 4 kids over 7 classrooms. So 4 times 7 versus 4 times 6.
4 times 7 is 28. You need 28 extra kids? So
No, if you, right, 4 times 6 is 24
Four.
students, right? So we used to have 7 sections, 7 first grade classrooms.
Okay, now
We reduced down to 6.
reading this, I got a little confused.
Yes.
I figure you're paying a teacher
No, this is the average class
$65,000 to
size.
teach 4 kids.
That's the average class size of the whole, of all the sections.
So you have roughly 100,
You're looking at 5, 4.
you have roughly,
Okay. So you
Dr.
say
Malkus,
Let's see if there's
you have
any
roughly
more
150 or so
Re-
first grade students?
This is a point of information I want, because if you read that, it don't sound that
Right.
way.
Just to-
So when the MSBA was looking at the enrollment, they do not allow for any projected growth of enrollment. Only, they look at your history of enrollment. Our enrollment in the past was very stable, so they did not plan for any increased enrollment. So the average overall grade level size that they prepared for was 150 students. In our current first grade class, we have 174 students. And that is true for every single grade level. I know Mr. Delgovich asked earlier about school choice. One of the issues I've run into is I have now met the school committee maximum for school choice in K through 8. I can't accept a school choice student in, because we are well above class sizes in K through 8. I have some room at the high school, so I am advocating for that.
Through the chair, just real quick to Dr. Malkus, what does the state have as a guideline for the ideal classroom size? I mean, obviously you have college campuses out there with 100 students to a professor, but I mean, obviously I would think kind of the lower the grade system, the more hands-on teaching needs to happen.
Yeah, and the younger grades, which is referred to, as pre-K through 2, they're actually looking for 1 adult for every 12 students. The way we've been able to mitigate that in the past was we would have 1 teacher with 1 instructional assistant. We no longer have that. So we don't have that, we're not meeting the NIAC guidelines for class size with respect to the youngest grades.
So those guidelines say for first and second grade would be, what, 20 children to 1 teacher?
Probably 24 with assistants.
Okay, and then, so their guidelines, I mean, are there any compliance issues where if the class size actually gets to a certain point, that could endanger either accreditation or something, or?
They're recommended class sizes for accreditation purposes. They can't dictate that because obviously it's related to the resources associated. The issue that we see, though, is we also have to keep in mind that with the students we have entering in kindergarten, and when we look at our data, our literacy data specifically, they are not at the same level or able to perform at the same proficiency level entering kindergarten as would be associated with their chronological peers. And so what happens is we need to do a lot more what we refer to as small group instruction, where we're taking 6 students who are at this level and trying to get them to that next level, and these 6 students need this specific skill set, so we're going to get them to this level. So there's a lot of work. Right now, our first grade classrooms are, which we did not expect it to jump the way it did. We budgeted based on a projected enrollment. But if you build it, they will come. And we have this beautiful new school, and so many residents, students, rather than maybe choicing out or attending a private school, they've elected to come to their local
Right, so you feel
school
that
district,
some
which
of
is what
it
they
is-
should do.
Right, so maybe some transfers from the parochial schools, now seeing that the town is, you know, growing their resources on the education side is what you're getting to, and trying to have a little more quality versus quantity, the balance.
And one of the issues we're starting to see with some of those parents who have the means is they're expressing their dissatisfaction. I know that Courtney provided an email that was received from Mrs. Hastings. She was one of our parents who presented before school committee her concerns about class size in first grade, who ultimately made the decision to take her child out of Park Avenue due to class size. That's one of the issues that we run into. Great that we have this increase in enrollment. It brought in significant number of dollars through Chapter 70 state aid. But if we don't mitigate these class sizes, then what happens is it can have the reverse effect, so that parents who have the means to go elsewhere will.
Thank you.
Just a point of information to your question about how the impact of class sizes on like school rankings. If you ever Google or look up school rankings, almost all of them, class size is one of the, there's usually only 3 or 4 categories to rank a school, and class size is always one of them.
Right. I imagine it's sort of the standard litmus test to show that how much a teacher can dedicate their time to each student, and thereby as a correlation of how quality the education is, I would assume. So, okay. Thank you.
No more questions.
I was just going to say, so after hearing all the information that's been presented tonight from everybody on the budgets, if we look at the big picture for the town, there are 2 things that everybody looks for when they're moving into town: the quality of education and the services that are provided by the town offices, whether it's new businesses coming in that are trying to get building permits, and through the master plan, we've identified that those are areas that we want to keep moving forward. And to Mr. Finnemore's point that the town keeps failing, well, we have the opportunity to change that. The only way the town is going to change is if everybody gets on the same page, finance committee, school committee, and selectmen, and support a budget that will get the town to the next level.
We have for the past 8 years. We've come in unified with a budget for the past 8 years. Am I correct? Did I
No.
lose something here?
Was I somewhere else last year on June 29th? Oh, my God.
Oh, my God, it's been unified.
Huh?
After the town meeting vote.
Last fiscal year?
Did they annex Douglas Road from Webster that we don't know?
Oh, my God.
Well, debate is good, right, Mike? Is that what
I just want to go on record, I disagree with him, because I know we agreed on a budget, school and the town side, but at the town meeting, a question always comes up. We need this kind of money to fix this. And I think the Board of Selectmen knows just what I'm talking about, and I think the school committee knows what I'm talking about, and the finance committee knows what I'm talking about. We had a project that cost almost $750,000 that was never brought before the Board of Selectmen. To my opinion now, it's my opinion. The finance committee, maybe the school committee knew about it, but I didn't. It came at the town meeting of last year that they had to renovate a whole wing at Bartlett High School for $875,000. That's like $40 a square foot. And nobody spoke up. We had no plan, no nothing. And that is wrong. That is wrong. I know sometimes I throw a monkey wrench into a good idea, but that was wrong. And I stand in and tell the whole gang of you guys over here in the school committee, that was wrong. We all never should have brought that up. We should have had a plan, how it was gonna be done, what was gonna be done. BayPA's doing work. I don't think BayPA's gonna charge $650,000 to fix that wing for the administrators. I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a construction man or anything like that. But that was wrong. And that's what a lot of people are complaining. We have a budget, I'm a new kid on the block on the finance committee. And I appreciate the Board of Selectmen for appointing me. But when things are brought up at the board, let's agree to it. Let's say, this is the way we have to go. But don't pull a back door when you go to the town meeting. And that's why people are hurt in the town of Webster. If you look at the real estate in the town of Webster, there's 132 homes that are up for sale. I bet you half of you people don't know that's true. Look at the homes that are being boarded up. We got an auction coming up. You can sell it for $1. Anybody wants to buy a house for $1? We got them. There's only one house that I know is being fixed, and that's on by the street where I live. Been boarded up. Brand new house. Guy couldn't afford it, and it's being fixed up now. Well, we have to, when you say agree, we all agree, we better agree. I don't care if it's the police department, the fire department, school, or whatever. Whatever our budget is, we go to the townspeople and say, this is it. And we should have a member of the finance committee say, if you do something that we don't want in the budget, your tax rate's gonna go up. The last 5 years, look at your tax bill, how it went up. I understand we built a fire station, we remodeled it. We got a new police station, which we got a new school. This is why people can't afford what's going up today. The economy is it's not an all-time low, but it's coming to that. Webster is gonna be, in the next 5 or 10 years, it's gonna be a sleeping town. I think we should all be aware of that. The only thing we got here is Commerce Insurance and a couple of hinky-dinky shops.
Just holler at me for saying we're gonna go down the drain. Now you're saying it. I saw people
We
forget.
don't want to do that, we want to move forward. We
I said my
want
piece,
to
but I
move
want-
forward.
Us some old people, you gotta.
Mr.
forgive us.
Fenimore, I said my piece because
Yeah.
I'm
I
a
agree
new
with
kid
you
on the block.
1,000%.
I'm no kid on the block. I know budgets, and I know school budget. I've been on the school committee for 32 years, not Webster School Committee, and I know how the figures juggle. Line item, line up. They play hopscotch all the time.
Stanley, you're a new kid on the block, but you've been around a long time. All right, do we have a motion of the Board of Selectmen? The school, Fincom wants to
Looking to adjourn.
continue on their meeting.
Motion
Is the
adjourned.
school committee satisfied to the chair?
School committee's never satisfied.
Are you satisfied that you can end your, well, we're gonna talk about you again, but.
There is no school committee here.
Before they leave.
Yeah,
There is no school
there's
committee
no
here
school
tonight.
committee.
If push came to shove, and we do agree to the budget tonight, as presented, and we go into the May meeting with the 8.7%, and hang our hat on selectmen putting in a 2.5 override, could you live with that till August?
Can I just clarify, it's a 4.6%
You can't.
increase?
An August override isn't gonna do us any good, Mr. Finley.
Well, which-
Middle of
which-
the season, we can't put in classroom teachers and departments and disrupt a whole school district with classes in the middle of the school year. I mean, that's not appropriate.
Well, we can't do a 2.5 override before June, correct? Am I correct in that assumption? If
The
it were agreed upon,
35 days.
35 days, that's the end of May, the beginning of June. And then you're gonna be in the same predicament. If it doesn't pass, you're gonna have to live with the budget. I'd like to go in, like I said to the chair, I'd like to go in May. I like this budget. I think she did a fantastic job on this budget. So did several of the other people on my board. They'll take their vote. If their vote is to go in May with this, can you live with that?
That represents the maintenance of effort budget. What I have presented to you tonight are those priorities that we would only get with respect to an override.
So you can live with this one right now, and if they approve an override, and it goes in June, and it's passed, then you can make the adjustment. Is that what I'm assuming?
That would get us everything that was put into your hands this evening.
All right.
We didn't have
But-
any other choice, Michael.
I guess, I'll make a motion to adjourn the Selectmen's meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and second discussion for the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, we're.
Okay.
On it.